What's up YouTube, this is Maverick Hunter Nova Zordex back with another Sky Striker deck profile, and this will be an update for the new list. So new format, new ban list, anchors back at 3, meta decks have been hit, and of course we're just going to see how the format is going to go as time progresses and how the trends are going to go. So don't take this as a finalized list, but this is how my deck is so far, so let's get on with it. Started off with the main deck. 3 copies of Ray, and 3 copies of Rose. So I'm gonna stick on with this for a moment because I'm still kind of like hearing the argument against the 3rd copy of Rose. A lot of people have been saying that you don't need the 3rd copy because you have roughly a 70% chance, according to their calculations, of opening a single ace to make your plays on your first turn. And I'm here to talk to you about how that's kind of irrelevant to the point. Because the point of this deck is, of course, to see your ace and constantly grind as you see your aces. And if you're not seeing those aces, then then you cannot play the game and you're losing tempo. So it's not always about opening the card; it's also being able to put it out every single turn. One single ace is not going to carry you through the entire game, and you need to make follow-up plays. If they get rid of your first one, and there's like a myriad of ways I can list, like say they gamma the Yorshizuku, or they activate Tactics Talent because you hand trap them and they decide to rip the 1 starter out of your hand. You know, a lot of scenarios, and maybe you need to extend with the additional copy of Rose in your hand to make Zeke plays to bait stuff out or remove stuff, or like, you know, make a lot of other plays. I feel like people are sorely underestimating the fact that Rose is a Sky Striker name, and that's basically the biggest reason why she's so good. It's because one copy of this roughly gets you into every single card in your Link ones, your main plays. It's going through all of that. That's literally what this one striker ace can do. It's part of the reason why this deck is still pretty strong after so long, even with Engage Ban. That's like one of its biggest strengths. It can give you that many pluses, that many effects for one single ace. That's how important it is to see the card, that's how important it is to see follow-ups, that's how important it is for your tempo. One copy is a potential +2, and if they do something and you can't follow up, then you're going to lose the grind. So I cannot stress anymore how valuable that is. And especially the fact with the format now that Dragoon is in the game, Rose is also a potential way to bait out Dragoon because her negation effect is non-targeting, so that's something else that you have to deal with. So if they have like an Anaconda or something, like really anything that you can get over that's in the extra monster zone, Rose can trigger in the grave and potentially negate or bait out the Dragoon. So that allows you for more follow-up plays. So like, I cannot stress how valuable Rose is. Like, I feel like people underestimate her like a little bit. But moving on, we're gonna go to my hand trap lineup. So I'm still sticking with the same thing I did last time. The 3 Veiler, the 3 Ash, and the 3 Imperm. I have considered Gamma in the stack. I still have to do some testing with that, but these 3 are still pretty solid. I feel like 9 hand traps is still pretty good, and the rest I'm really just playing more board breaker cards than everybody else. Imperm, it's a way for you to play through and negate their stuff without triggering Tactics Talent. I'm just gonna call it that. Ash is still a universally good hand trap. Maybe you'll have to change out the things that you're trying to stop with it, like say, instead of ashing the Nadir, you can instead just ash the Titanic Lead in the end phase so that you don't trigger talents, you know, like stuff like that. Still pretty good. You can still hit like the important cards like Halkify Brax, you know, what do you call this, Isolde, all that. But yeah, still pretty fine for me. So moving on to the generic spells. 2 copy of Tactics Talent, 2 copy of Mystic Mind, and 3 copies of Forbidden Droplet. So pretty much these are basically your go second cards. Very solid, especially because the deck is still very solid at go second. I don't think you should play it go first, of course, like some people were saying, because deck doesn't have Engage, so you don't have like a lot of ways to generate advantage when you're going first. But yeah, these are ways for you to break through Dragoon board, which I kind of like centered the build around because Dragoon is like the deck's biggest problem right now because it's just like an easy access to an annoying monster that you can't really deal with your regular striker cards. So having cards like these is very important. I bumped mine up to 2 because it's, of course, it's degenerate as ever. It hasn't been hit for whatever reason. But it's good because you can either bait out Dragoon or stop them once you've baited out their negates. It's good against matchups like Dogmatica, Infernoble Knight, because they generally don't want to link off their stuff, or they can't really link out their stuff. And you can basically lock them out and mind stall them, and hopefully that they don't draw the one Feather Duster. Talents is the same way, of course. It's another way for you to basically play through their negations, play through stuff that you baited out. I don't want to play 3 copies of Talents because it's a potentially cloggy card. It's reliant on your opponent doing something. It's a dead draw in of itself. It's a potentially horrible top deck if you don't have a card to complement it, which is why I feel like 2 copies is fine, because you only want to play it as a complementary card to the rest of your other live interactions. So I feel like 2 is perfect. You don't really need to. You don't really need any more. The deck can easily play through hand traps anyway, so it's like it doesn't really care. And of course, this is still MVP for a lot of the reasons that I've gushed about in my second video. So yeah, this also outs Dragoon, if nothing else. So that's very important. The rest of the generic spell lineup. So I'm playing 1 copy of Terraforming, Rhoda, the 1 Feather Duster, just to clear back row. It's still a good card. Glad that's back, by the way. 1 Upstart. And right now, I'm playing 1 copy of Mind Control. So I've decided to drop the the second copy of Shark Cannon that I was playing over this, because of the fact now that Anchor's back, we can kind of like use this as a way to keep pushing towards taking your opponent's monsters, and try to make like an extra deck out to Dragoon, of course, and get rid of annoying cards like Winda or Makaba or like any of their Link 2s, and you can proceed to Link Climb to basically break their board. So like I feel like this is a kind of like a solid pick right now. Yeah, just currently trying this out alongside. I feel like this alongside Talents and the triple Anchor, you just like have so many ways to just like take your stuff and just like make something out of it. But last of the generic spells is the 2 copy of Desires. I'm still pretty fine with 2. I don't really need to play the 3rd one, especially because, again, like I'm playing this deck goes second, and the theory that I'm having with it is that I don't want to play too many cards that are like hard once per turn, and Desires is kind of tricky if the opponent manages to break your manages to build a board, and you're trying to break theirs. Desires is kind of like an awkward card to draw, because they're not necessarily going to negate it with their main monsters, and if they do, if they drop an Ash on this card and you're still stuck with dealing with negations, you basically just like dropped a dead card of them. So I don't want to rely on it too much. It's still a great card, but I feel like just 2 is fine, alongside with Tactics Talents being a potential draw card. I feel like you have enough ways to dig into your deck, and you have plenty of interactions to play the game anyway, so you're fine with that. So going on to the striker spells. So happy to see these back. The 3 copies of Anchor, 2 copies of Area Zero. Whoops. 2 Afterburners. Still pretty good. I feel like 2 Burners is better than Burner Jamming Waves right now. I don't feel like Jamming Waves is very good right now. There's just like not really anything that you really want to hit with it. You could potentially hit like maybe like Punishment or something like that, but you don't really care about those cards too much, so much as you want to constantly break their monsters. I feel like this is like better right now for the format as it is. And the 1 copies of Hornet Drones, 1 copy of Multi-Roll, 1 Eagle Booster, and I'm playing only 1 Shark Cannon. And the reason I'm playing the only 1 Shark, I was already playing 2 the last time I was doing the list, and so far Shark has been kind of subpar. I don't think it's very good this format, but we're going to see as time goes on, of course. And since we have the 3rd Anchor now, that basically replaces the 2nd copy of Shark that I was playing. But again, this is a go second deck, and you're not really setting up 3 spells very often, so much as you're trying to break their board and then setting up your 3 spells. So if you don't have your setup and you're sitting on you're sitting on like a shark cannon in your hand that's dead, and you're staring down a board that's like the card is kind of like subpar unless you open up a full hand of spell cards, but you don't always get that. So like the card doesn't really do a whole lot for you. There's not really a lot of graveyard heavy decks that we really want to hit. Like maybe if Burning Abyss PK Fire becomes a problem, or Orcus becomes a problem, yeah, maybe you could probably bump this card up. But I feel like with Widow Anchor, I think you're better off. And I much highly value this copy of Eagle Booster over the second Shark right now, because as you're playing through your interactions, there's gonna come a point where you're able to either take a monster that belongs to them, or bring out one of yours, and then proceed to go into your Huck of Fibrex play. And your opponent's going to try to stop that. If they do try to stop that, you could protect, like, say, your Huck of Fibrex with Eagle Booster, and you can proceed to break their board and punish them for trying to interact with you. Also, I love this card just because overall it's very versatile. It doesn't need 3 spells for you to get its main value. And I also love the fact that if you have access code and you have this sitting with, like, say, multi-roll or something, you basically win the game, because they either have to deal with your access code on their turn, or they just lose the duel. So I feel like this is a very flexible card. I feel like it's better right now. Maybe I'll put back the second copy of Shark over time, but again, like, the third copy of Anchor basically replaces that. And I feel like Mind Control is a whole lot better too. But that's basically it for my Striker spells. So that's my main deck. So going on to the extra deck, we still play, of course, the 3 copies of Kagari. Also, yes, this is OCG Gold Rare, and I'm very happy about that. I'm really happy that I got that. 3 copies of Shizuku. 2 copies of Hayate. 1 Kaina. And 1 Zeke, which I still think is still pretty solid. Extra deck is basically the same as last time. We also have Hulk, Celine, Access Code. You know, the trio is still good. Still playing Hita because people still play Ash, and of course it's useful against the Inferno Noble Knight matchup. You could still go into Celine by using Hita as a material. And of course, lastly, we played the 1 copy of Ningirsu because, again, this is another way for you to out-Dragoon, and it's just very easy to make, especially so much easier now that we have Widow Anchor to 3, and we just have multiple ways to just, like, go into it. So, very good card. So that's the extra deck, and finally we're going to go to the side deck. So, for the side, playing the 3 copies of Nibiru. For your combo decks, which I'm not going to count out yet, I feel like Adamantipator can still make boards. And of course, this is good against Inferno Noble Knights. Yeah, especially, or if you're dealing with like the rogue combo matchup, of course, you can still, you know, drop this on them. So like, I wouldn't count combo out yet. I still feel like that Ada's still capable of making boards that are threatening. So you know, if you run into them, you might want to have an out. For going first, I'm playing 2 copies of D-Barrier, 2 copies of Tikaboo, and 2 Solemn Judgment. So the reason I've decided to swap out for the 2 D-Barrier is because Feather Duster's back. So I don't want to rely too much on like setting all my background, just getting blown away by cards like Lightning Storm, Duster, evenly. So I want to play something that's of course chainable, and Barrier is pretty good in that regard, because you can basically just call Synchro and stop Inferno Noble Knight from playing. You can call Fusion and basically stop Dogmatica from going into their Fusion plays. And, you know, their standard Dogmatica plays don't really affect you a lot, so, like, you don't really care, but you slow them down effectively, so that's good. The rest are very self-explanatory. It's just the fact that we have more board wipers in the game right now, so, like, I don't want to rely on setting too much back row and just, like, watching it, like, just go away without you getting any value out of it. But, yeah, there's that. And then for Go Second, we have 3 copies of Evenly. And for the back row decks, the 1 Jamming Waves in case we run into a matchup like Guru, where it's good against, you know, Geist, stuff like that, that tends to set more back row, which is like a much bigger deal. And the 2 copies of Cosmic Cyclone. because I can't afford Lightning Storms, and this is still pretty good against like Eldritch if you run into that, or like anything that just plays back row heavy stuff, or you can chain it to Imperial Order, so there's that. But that's basically the deck profile. I hope you guys liked it. I hope it was informative enough, and as usual, like the video, share it with your friends, and of course, feel free to talk to me in the comment section and give me your thoughts on my list. Feel free to give me suggestions. Give me you know whatever comes to mind. Talk to me about it, and if you also if you want me to post a profile on a more budget version of the list, because I know a lot of these cards are going to be very fucking expensive. I can also post a budget version of the deck. You know, there's like some alternatives I could suggest to you, like say, you know, you could play Kaiju's over like the droplets or something just to out Dragoon, because I feel like the general thing I would say to keep in mind is that you need to play main deck outs to Dragoon, because that's like one of the big playmakers right now, and this deck has like a hard time dealing with stuff like that, so you really need those main deck outs. But that's all I can really talk about right now, and we're just gonna see, of course, how the metagame takes its shape, and hope this video does something for you guys. But that's all the time I got for today. This is Maverick Hunter Nova Zordex signing out.